Good morning.
Good morning.
I had two things that kind of intersected this week that I'm going to try to make this talk out of. It was, can you hear me okay? Or
Yeah.
a little more?
No,
Okay.
I think that's good.
Larry's having.
Can you lift your
No,
mic?
it's no adjustment.
Lift your mic to your.
Oh, move it up? There we go. Is that better?
Yes.
Oh my God, I think I just blew out my eardrum.
Do you want to start over?
No, I'm good. That's fine. That's wonderful. Very good. So, and one of the events, the one event was an article I read by a guy who's probably a crackpot, and but we have that in common. And I had an appointment at the DMV. Now, I don't make an appearance at the DMV unless it's specifically requested. So I've been, you know, doing my renewals for my license for years, and they sent me a letter and said, hey, you got to come in and you got to do the dreaded eye test. And so that did not go without a certain level of anxiety for me, just the prep for the whole thing. And then I got there, and there was some confusion because I thought I had an appointment, but I didn't have an appointment. But it all worked out marvelously because I was in there and out of there probably in 15, 20 minutes, max. And I think I utterly failed the driving test. Not the driving test, the vision test. The clerk was brilliant. Obviously deals with a lot of old guys who can't see, and she, you know, they don't have, this is me making excuses about the DMV. You know, they don't have the eye chart lit very well. And I was sitting there trying to figure out what window I hoped I'd be called to by the lighting that was on the chart. That I thought that would give me a shot at it. And I did badly, and then kind of did pretty good, and then I think fell off the cliff at the end. And she said, well, step up to the machine right there and look in there and give it to me. And you know, I just bang, did the second line, which is the second smallest line. Wonderful, go get my picture taken, everything's glorious. And so that went without really much. It was a pretty nice experience at the DMV. But this article that I read was, I thought it had some interesting advice, and historically, if we look at the impact of the Western church and many traditions, religious traditions, Roshi has talked about this before. People who they want to practice something they like to call secular Buddhism. And this article was an interesting article in that it took kind of a bit of a historical perspective, and I'm going to try to do a little bit of what they did in this article. But and so we get to a situation where for the great religions of the world have maximum power over the populace via their link with royalty and with the state, and they occasionally they don't do the best things with this power. And I think people come to a situation where a couple of things historically happened. People started to wonder if their perpetual serfdom and to the religion and the state was really working out that well for them. And they and then stuff like the Gutenberg Bible gets printed, and they toss Galileo in jail because he thinks that Copernicus had the right idea, and all his evidence shows that the Earth rotates around the sun and not the other way around. And of course, he has problems because he's convicted by the Spanish Inquisition, and he spends the last part of his life under house arrest. And so all these things kind of lead up to what becomes the real use of the word enlightenment, which is the era of enlightenment, the European fostering of all kinds of things that we benefit from today in modern society, laws that give us order, the scientific method that helps us to helps our scientists to make great discoveries. We have this whole secular world that begins to take shape in the form of revolutions and governments and declarations of independence and bills of rights, and all of these things set up what eventually becomes our modern world. But the churches, back prior to the Enlightenment and leading into the Enlightenment, figured out that early on they were probably not going to win this battle with free association of individuals and knowledge and science developing and laws and all these other things that create our modern world. And so they did a very interesting thing. They set up this, and they didn't, I don't think they did this in a calculated way. I think it's basically the result of what happened. And the result is today we have a secular world, but the churches, the religions figured out, well, you can have that secular world, but when it comes to spirituality, we're in charge. That's our venue. That's where we're gonna shine, and that's where we're gonna maintain some of this power we have. We're gonna keep all the good spiritual stuff right here, and you can go ahead and come up with your liberal ideas and your secularism and all this other thing, but we're going to keep the reins on things spiritual. We've got the spiritual connection here. And this article then looks at our spiritual life and looks at our day-to-day workings out in the world. And the secular world, we're going to Target, and we're going to the DMV, and we're just, we're on our daily commute, and we go to work, and we do all these things, and we come to a point where we have no connection with the spiritual, because we've bought into this idea, many of us, that there is a division between the spiritual realm and the secular realm. And this article I thought was interesting because its whole idea, and the idea behind what this author was proposing, was a post-egoic world. Now, that's very fanciful and quite one of these kind of dreamlike ideas, but it's he's trying to give us the tools and empower us to see the spiritual in our secular life, to not really believe in this divide between the spiritual and the secular. He believes that, and I have come to believe, I think, over the years, that human beings are quite remarkable. Yeah, I get the idea that there's been some bad ones and they've caused a lot of trouble and suffering in the world, but by and large, if you look at the long roll of humanity, and you can see that down to very interpersonal things, the caring of a mother for her child, father for his family, the providing for his family, just seeing each other that we run into during our day. You know, we have these kind of secular cheats, if you will. And one of the big ones, of course, is have a nice day, to someone who's maybe the cashier and maybe at Target, and maybe we really want them to have a nice day. But this story kind of got to the idea that we should be trying to do this more often, to break down this idea that this is the secular world and this is the spiritual world, and I'm too busy, too distracted, too trying to get along in the secular world to understand that the spiritual side is out there and is a part of our existence all the time. And that's where the Buddhism comes in, because it teaches us to be more mindful of every interaction that we have in our day-to-day world. And that the idea here is that in this, what we're doing and what we've done over the course of history as we've developed as a species is when we were part of indigenous people, there was no secular, so what we were doing, the secular and the spiritual, were combined all the time for indigenous peoples all around the world. Their cultures made it so that was the successful way to thrive and survive, was to eliminate that. And then we got more people, we got more rules, we got more of the secular world that's built up around us, and religions go into a more secularized sort of a world where there's more rules, there's more things to be concerned about with appropriate worship, and we rebel against those things. And when we rebel against those things, that brings something along the lines of the Enlightenment, where people start to question the things, the ideas that we've operated on in years. And information and technology then starts to create this situation. And now we've kind of been separated from some of those ideas of spirituality that humanity was raised on in the indigenous world. And this author is just trying to get us to be more mindful of those things. And once again, to just reiterate, that's where the teachings of the Buddha come in. You know, giving us the idea that we can be mindful of our thoughts and the environment around us, and really, as we get better at cultivating this recognition of the spiritual in the secular, we're going to see more spiritual. We're going to see more spirituality, and the ultimate premise of this article is that we should actually not settle for the false divide between the spiritual and the secular. We should wipe it out. We should look at every opportunity to see the spiritual in our daily life, in an individual's smile, in a comment at the DMV. I didn't give you her punchline, it was very good. I aced the vision test, and she looked at me with a really dry look and said, "I predict there will be glasses in your future." So this whole idea that I think dials in and ramps up back to Buddhism is that the Buddha's teachings give us the tools to do exactly what this author thought was a good thing for us as individuals and the world at large as it moves forward, as it becomes more, technical, more secular. We need spirituality, and it's locked up with people who just don't have a very appealing or aren't really committed to helping us solve the problem. This secular spiritual divide is something that they've created and that they promote because that's what they got. Now that the world of science and commerce and law have all taken off and given us the modern society that we try to negotiate our way through, they're going to hold pretty tight to that because it's all they got, especially when people who have more information, inclination, knowledge, and desire to really look at the problem, really look at how we're in kind of a spiritual desert, not here at the Desert Zen Center, but in general, in society, we long for the spiritual because the spiritual confirms what we know about human beings. Alan Watts said it, and if I'm really going to go off the cliff, I'll go with him. The thing is, if you've ever had a good deed done, a compassionate deed for you done, between, getting help after a car accident or finding your car keys because you lost them, St. Anthony didn't find them. God didn't deliver you. You got help from a human being. You ran into a compassionate person. I think that's powerful. I think that's something that we need to remember. That humanity has a great potential. It has a great potential to be the compassionate driving force that makes the world a better place. Whether you're coming up with a new computer code or whether you're helping feed people down at the local VFW. Whatever it is you're doing to help out, that defines what a human being can do and how they can get more engaged in their spiritual world and in their spiritual practice. I thought it was just quite a good sort of a way to get into that idea. And then I started thinking myself about what a lovely experience I had at the DMV. And I did a little thinking then about other times, and this has oftentimes been something that I've gone to for a bit of profound and deep spirituality, and that is to just simply go backpacking in the Sierras. We spent some time, my son and I, my uncle and I, my cousins and I, along Big Pine Creek. It runs down in through the town of Big Pine. With all the rain we've been having, they might have some flood issues on 395, but it's a beautiful place. It takes us away from this world of the modern world, if you will, the secular world, and transports us to a spiritual place where we are astounded by everything we see. In fact, we were there, and that's one of the reasons I love this place. We were there this morning before we started this service, Tam Mung and I. Tam Mung was doing some good work, sweeping up after yesterday's party here, outside the Dharma hall, and I was standing around not doing anything, which is kind of my thing. And I was noticing, I just looked up to the clouds, because I'm telling you, we're missing a lot when we don't look up at the clouds. We are missing a lot, because it doesn't stick around. It comes and it goes, and if you didn't look up, it's gone. So I just said to Tim, I said, wow, you got to come over here from under that patio and have a look at this, because it's amazing. And it was just clouds moving, layers of clouds of different temperature and different wind directions, moving, just almost doing a ballet in the sky. It was quite a beautiful moment. I mean, it's the essence of what I'm talking about. And it happened right out here this morning, and it's happening for everybody, all the time. They just need to snap out of it, I guess, you know. They need to come up with some tools and use some of these tools that we teach right here in our meditations to help people become more awake, more aware, to pay attention to what arises, or what clouds are doing. It's the great feature and the great teaching of the Buddha to me. It's just to understand that this is a very important thing. This is not just daydreaming or looking at clouds. This is making a deep connection to our humanity. So that's really my message. I'm going to give you one of the wackiest things about the article and close with that, because the author, who's been doing this practice, he calls it, like I said, the post-egoic world is what he's trying to create in his fantasy world. And what he's been doing for the last 25 years, not 25 years, but his practice involves his phone. So he sets, he recommends, now, I haven't tried this, so be careful, kids. Set the alarm on your phone. And he says, you know, set it for 10 minutes to start. To give you an alarm, a buzz, or a little chime, or whatever, every 10 minutes with a message on it. And it says, you are part of the spiritual world. You are part of the spiritual realm. That's what it says. And it seems to me like it might be one of the better uses of a mobile phone. I mean, maybe you'll try it, maybe I'll try it, and report back to you. But anyway, thank you so much for listening.